All right, good morning.
Pointing at the ceiling.
Jump in here and get started this
I
morning.
need to stop video. Is that
You guys
that line?
have,
I'm off.
there we go. I think we're all set there. Jump in, talk about wheat markets. There might be some questions. I think I see a few people here that might be able to answer some questions that might come up today. First off, jumping into the markets, we've seen a pretty good jump in cash this week. Don't get excited necessarily that this is the big rally. Remember back month and a half ago, we had those back-to-back CCC tenders and a couple other sizable amounts of business. And there was one exporter that got the majority of it. Well, that's the one exporter that's willing to pay a lot of money right now. I think once he gets that fill, we'll see the markets drop back off. I saw some numbers the other day. Some other exporters were a good 20-30 cents lower than him, and their people had been kind of neck and neck for a little while. So I think it's just some short coverings right now and trying to get as many barges as he can down the river, and then we'll kind of see what happens. That's indicative because you've got that big inverse. I mean, he's only paying for June right now. It's not like it's something in the market's happening. We did have futures rallying. They've been pretty volatile, but we've seen some big shifts in the middle of the day, especially in the morning. If we see it up green, 15-20 cents, it lets them go out there with a bigger number for the cash bids. And with the little bit of wheat that's been moving, it's not like he's getting flooded, so he's willing to stand in there and take those. So where it's going to top out at, I can't tell you, but I will say that it's not a long sustained deal. I don't feel we could see some stronger pricing, just like I've been saying, into the first part of harvest, just because if there's not much wheat moving down the river. We talked 2 weeks ago about some of these buyers, running on short supplies. So, they're going to be hungry, looking to fulfill some of their elevators shortly into harvest. So we might see some pricing opportunities, but I think it's going to be, up and down. It's not going to be a long sustained type deal. Futures, they remain volatile. There's a lot of speculation out there. Are the funds starting to buy back into their big short? With some of the volume we saw yesterday and the day before, that could be true, but it's not going to be an overnight deal. Now that we've got this, debt deal done and all that stuff, how market moves from the stock market in and out of there, you see a pullback out of the stock market. That's going to be a good indication. You could potentially see a little push up with the commodity prices as money comes out of there and the funds are starting to buy into their long. So a couple things to keep an eye on as we go. Look at page 3. This is the export sales summary from last week. Nothing super impressive there. You look at the new crop sales for white wheat and at 2.8 million bushels, but yet look above and see that we were negative 2.2 for the current year. So basically you had a new crop sale switch to, or old crop to new crop, made up the majority of that. So kind of a net zero there, not a whole lot going onto the books. And you can see that it was a Vietnam cargo that had switched from old crop to new crop. Page 5, that one has got, that's the one that came out this morning. Apologize for the multiple emails, but when we have a holiday on Monday morning, or on Monday, the USDA reports don't come out until Friday morning. So I can't build the packet and send it out until then. So that's why you got those. And then when I forget my computer at home and have to turn around halfway tomorrow to go get it, then they come out a little later in the morning even. So, but if we flip to white wheat, it's going to be back here a few pages. Pretty decent, actually. Again, a few of those were some old crops sales. Flip into new crops. Siri thinks I'm talking to her. I'm not. She won't listen half the time. I'm trying to get her attention, but And then Philippines in buying a pretty decent jag of wheat. You know, your number one buyer continuing to be out there in front, buying ahead of the curve. That's really about it. I mean, we still aren't seeing a whole lot of, you know, new crop sales or, you know, things popping up that the exporters are looking for backing and we're trying to get, you know, I think they figure they're going to be able to buy into it cheap enough. They're not really going out looking for backing on a lot of the new crop stuff yet. We had some poking around last week, kind of got excited because it was some Korean business. They were looking for some low pro offers, but it was, I want to say maybe a barge or two worth. It wasn't like an entire cargo or something like that where they had to get a bunch of backing for it. So with that, before we go to questions, if Jacob's ready, I'll probably send it over to him. I know he had field day yesterday. I couldn't make it to, so I imagine he'll give us an update on that. And then some of his future going ons. I did know if the bids, when they come out in your email, those will have the upcoming dates of different events that Jacob's got going on. So with that, I will pass it over to him.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, we had a crop tour yesterday in Sherman County that went fine. I think a windier day would have brought more people, but it was nice that the wind finally died down for us to be out there. I know it's just been blowing pretty hard the last couple of days, and I've been out there in it for a lot of those days. So hope people are getting caught up on what they need to be doing. So next week you got the Wasco County Crop Tour. That's going to be on Thursday, June 8th. So next Thursday, 8:30 a.m. at the Duford Community Cemetery to look at the OSU wheat variety trials that are there. Also looking at a couple other things, looking at a wheat field down my friend that has had this other product applied to called Source. It's a kind of similar to biofertilizer, some other stuff I've been looking at the station here. So that might be interesting to look at. And Peter Foley with AgCopter was supposed to be at the Sherman County tour yesterday, but he had something come up. But he does plan to be at the Wasco County tour, and we're working with him to have a pretty good live demonstration lined up, I hope. So it sounds like that should work pretty good and should be pretty neat for people to see. That tour concludes with lunch at JTI in the Dalles. They got Paco's Tacos from Hood River. It's always a pretty good lunch that they have there, so I appreciate their support with that as well. Also for next week, I've got 2 ODA pesticide credits approved. So if you need those, you can show up with a tour and at least get 2 credits out of the deal too. So then the next week we do have the Sherman Station Experiment Stations having their field day on Wednesday, June 14th. That starts 7:30 a.m. up at the fairgrounds. So again, if you want to know more about what's going on at the station, that's great. I know as usual, there's going to be a station liaison committee meeting following lunch there, probably around 1 o'clock back at the experiment station office there at the extension office. So those are kind of the biggest things that are going on. I need to sit down on the email list at least. Larry Lucher's got a couple crop tours going on around June 20th, June 19th and 20th, I believe, and maybe a third one in there too. He's got 3 small ones basically. So also if people are interested in going to those, just a heads up that Larry's got some great crop tour stuff going on too. So that's really all updates I kind of have to give. Justin, I appreciate the opportunity. And if you have any questions or comments, let me know. Please do RSVP to that Wasco County Crop Tour if you want to stick around for lunch. I'm really trying to give JTI a good head count. So appreciate it. Thanks, Justin.
Perfect. Thanks, Jacob. I guess with that, I would open it up for questions if anybody's got anything. I don't, looking in the chat, I don't see any messages in there either. So
Already has one. I was reading, before my power went off here and off the grid for a while, but on the future site that the rest of the world's looking pretty good. Europe is looking at a good crop. Russia and Ukraine are looking at a good crop. Canada's gonna have a good crop. And they're worried a little bit about Australia because of El Nino developing, but otherwise it looks like the world's looking pretty good, aren't they, overall?
yeah, so Ernie's just talking about, crop conditions kind of around the globe. Yeah, I 100% echo what he was reading is, we don't really have any production concerns right now in Europe. Australia, like we talked last week, that's a little too early yet to know. I mean, we got El Nino effect there. The news this week that's came out has been the rains in some of the major growing regions of China. So you're seeing some sprout damage there. You know, as a large buyer of wheat, everybody gets excited about that, but you know, it's an awful hard thing to bet on. You've got you know, the price of wheat continues to push down. I mean, we've got some of the cheapest wheat in the world, but Russia just keeps pushing right down with it. And that's basically what everybody's chasing. Last week we talked about how, you know, with the hard red price up so high, and there's definitely a production issue here in the US, in the Southern Plains. It's kind of the one place in the world, you know, prior to this China news with some potential sprout damage where we do see that. And so with localized US prices potentially being so high, we talked about how it was actually cost benefit to mills on the East Coast to look to bring in cheaper European wheat to blend with some US wheat to make that work. And of course, politically, you get into all kinds of different issues there. But yeah, the hard red production is more of a localized, small problem when you look at the entire global view of everything. So just because it's bad there, obviously doesn't mean it's not everywhere else. And so when you've got a bunch of cheaper wheat in the market, it's going to find its way to market, and, you know, people will pay that premium somewhat, but they're also going to look for cheaper ways to blend the wheat, you know, here with cheaper wheat from elsewhere if they can make it work for their final specs. So that's really what's going on. As far as globally, thanks for that, Ernie. Just keep competing with cheap European wheat. So that's where we're at. So
Yeah, I heard that China was gonna have a big crop and now they have some sprout.
Yeah, no, China was looking like a big crop for sure. And we all know too much of a good thing could be rain. So
And in one day it changed.
yeah, and I better not say it, but yeah, you never know what kind of news you're going to read out of there. Depends on if they're buying or selling. So anyway, with that, 2 more meetings scheduled here in Morrow and Zoom. We'll be looking to get out before harvest also around the region to have some meetings. You guys tell me when a non-spray day is going to happen and we'll get them on the calendar. So anyway, with that, everybody, I'll sign off. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will talk with you in a couple weeks.